We'll now apply the rules that we saw in the last video for rounding calculated numbers. Remember, these are based on our operations. When adding or subtracting, we'll round based on the least precise value in our calculation, or we'll be looking at the place value. When multiplying or dividing, we'll be rounding based on our least accurate measured number, or we'll be looking at significant figures. In our first example, we have 12.5 grams plus 100.13 grams. When you do the calculation, this equals 112.63. We need to decide now how to round this number. I'm adding, so I'm going to look at the precision or place value of the digits in my measured numbers. 12.5 has one digit to the right of the decimal, or it's precise to the tenths position. 100.13 has two digits to the right of the decimal, or it's accurate to the hundredths position. 12.5 is my least precise measured value, so I need to round to the same number of decimal places in my final answer. In other words, I need to round to the tenths position. To do so, I look one digit to the right and I see that's a 3. So I won't round my final answer up. I'll just leave it the same, 112.6, and I report the final units, grams. So I've rounded my final answer to the same number of decimal places, or to the same place value as my least precise measurement. Do the same with the next example, 372.5 kilometers minus 65 kilometers. When you do the subtraction, you get 307.5. Looking at the precision of our measured numbers, because we're subtracting, my first number is accurate again to the tenths position, but my second number is only accurate to the nearest whole kilometer, or to the ones position. That is my least precise measurement, so that's where I'll round to. That means I need to round my final answer to the nearest whole number. So I'm going to round this 7. I look one digit to the right and see that's a 5, which tells me to round up. So 307.5 rounds up to 308, and the units were kilometers. In the next example, 10.00 grams plus 5.00 grams. When you do the addition, you may just write down 15. However, I need to make sure my answer is reported, since I'm looking at addition, with the same precision as my least precise measurements. Both of my measurements were precise to the hundredths position, or to 2 decimal places. So my final answer should be as well. This means I need to add those zeros as placeholders to show that my final answer has the same level of precision as my measured values. So I would report 15 as 15.00, and the units are grams. In the next examples, we'll look at what happens when we are dividing or multiplying. Remember, here we'll be looking, instead of at the number of decimal places or precision of our measured numbers, we'll be looking at the number of significant figures. If you do the math here, 13.5 feet divided by 6.5 feet, you get 2.07692, and on your calculator. We need to decide how to round this answer. Because we're dividing, we will look at the accuracy or number of significant figures in our measured values. In 13.5, there are 3 significant figures. In 6.5, there are 2 significant figures. Remember, if you need help with determining the number of significant figures, you can look back at the previous videos. I need to round my final answer to the same number of significant figures as my least accurate measurement, so I'm rounding my final answers to 2 significant figures. This first digit is significant, this 0 is significant, and this is where I'm going to round, so that would give me 2 significant figures. I look one digit to the right of where I'm going to round and see it's a 7, which tells me to round my final digit up. So this would round to 2.1. As you'll see in later videos, when I divide the same units in my numerator and my denominator, those units will cancel out. So the final answer here will be 2.1. In the next example, 140 inches times 13 inches. When you do the calculation, you get 1820. Because we're multiplying, we'll round our final answer based on significant figures. This first number, 140, because there's no decimal written, this is only 2 significant figures. Remember that trailing 0 is not significant. In 13 inches, there are also 2 significant figures. So I need to round my final answer so that it also has 2 significant figures. This first digit is significant. The second digit is also significant. So this is where I'm going to round. I look one digit to the right. It's a 2. So that tells me I won't round up. I'll just be leaving my final digit 8 the same. Notice that this doesn't round to 18. Although I'm rounding down and not keeping the 2 as a significant digit, I do need zeros as placeholder. 1820 rounds to 1800. When I multiply inches by inches, as you'll see in later videos, we get inches squared. So this is a bit of a different example where we're rounding to 2 significant figures, but we needed to make sure we kept these zeros in here as placeholders. They're just not significant.